Morning, everyone, and welcome to our LinkedIn session. Today, we are joined by Paul Harris from Coacto to talk about CRM. So CRMs is one of the things that we see as an agency when we go to people and talk to them and we go, what CRM have you got? And they go, oh, what's a CRM? So we're going to be very high level today and just discuss what a CRM is and why it is absolutely imperative that you have one with your website, because it is the thing that really supercharges your website. Without one, you're using an eighth of what it can do for your business. So I'm going to just literally dig straight in. Paul, thank you so much for coming along today to chat about CRMs.
Pleasure.
Um, Firstly, what is one? Most obvious question, I know, but
It is, and people throw around this term CRM, on a regular basis. And somebody said, we were at a trade show earlier, so I said, CRM, what's a CRM? What does that mean? And a CRM, the standard definition is customer relationship management system, which I'll come on to in a moment. But interesting, in another conversation I had recently, somebody said CRM is about consistent results management. And so
I
I
like
think
that.
it can mean whatever you want it to mean. But the important thing I think about CRM is that you've got to think of your business as a system, and it has processes and it has people, and you have customers and suppliers and all of those aspects. And so a CRM system really allows you to manage all of the aspects of your system. And your business is made up of a number of applications. Almost in every case, there's not one thing in your business. You have your website, you have a CRM, you have a finance system, you have your email, you have your document management. All of those things to some extent are part of your CRM, because a CRM for us really is about managing the information in your business to provide a great service to your customers. And CRMs help you really, adopt best practice. They allow you to adapt to technology. And of course, everybody is running around talking about AI at the moment, because that's the next best thing. It helps you align to processes. It empowers and trains your people. And it allows you to measure, reporting and analytics coming out of the data that's in your CRM help you make good decisions. And having that system in place also helps you improve your business, because you're getting feedback
Yeah.
from the engagements that you're having. And of course, some people use Excel, and is Excel really a CRM system? Well, to some extent it is, but one of the interesting things that there's this obscure group called, I think it's the European Spreadsheet Research Interest Group or something. I mean, Google it, it really is a thing. And they've done some study on organizations that use spreadsheets, because we all use spreadsheets. We use spreadsheets internally. I mean, most of our stuff is systemized internally. But something like 90% of spreadsheets contain errors. And 50% of spreadsheets that are used to manage and run businesses have material defects. That means the numbers are wrong. The information that's coming out of those spreadsheets is wrong. So people using, spreadsheets are potentially, putting their business at risk. But let me just quickly summarize, I guess, some of the key things. So it's really about contact management, storing your customer and your supplier information, storing all of the emails and correspondence, storing the tasks, what you've done, what you're going to do next. Things like prospecting and sales management, that's probably one of the most common things that people think of when they hear CRM. So that's about tracking sales pipelines, leads and opportunities. Managing your teams and your business processes. Customer service is another area. So this is really about supporting your customers with whatever products and services you're offering to help them resolve issues better. And that's where it can link back to your website. For example, providing a customer portal on your website that actually links to your CRM can help deliver better customer service. And there's a bunch of other things. There's marketing automation, which I know we can talk about maybe on another day. Reporting and analytics I've touched on. Getting automation. AI is largely about automation in some respects, but automating routine tasks, data entry. Somebody types a lead into a form in your website, that should go straight into your CRM system. It should auto response to the person that submitted that lead, and it should then notify somebody in the business, say, there's a new lead, follow up on that. And there are other things around, integrating with other systems that might be part of your business landscape, and then things like really team collaboration. Spreadsheets tend to be, silos, and team collaboration, amongst the teams, from marketing, sales, customer service, operations, accounts. CRM can bring all those kind of things together.
Yeah. It's really for us when we discuss it with clients, what CRM system we're looking. We need that information. We need that information to make good business decisions. And actually, if you're not collecting that information, it's every touch point someone has with your brand can actually be looked at with precise information, which means we know what's working, what's not working,
Yeah.
to be able to feed that back into a feedback loop within internally to make sure that what we're doing is right and taking out what's not right. And I think people are so busy. One of the things that we hear is, oh, I haven't got enough time to do. But CRM systems can reduce the amount of time that you're having to do because they can automate so much for you.
Yeah, and I think actually I had a conversation with somebody a few weeks ago, about this, and we were talking about the value that a CRM system can provide, and in particular relating to marketing, because you go along to a trade show, somebody might say, "Oh, that trade show was brilliant. Yeah, we got a ton of leads," and then you might ask the question, say, "Well, how do you measure that?" And for some people, that kind of marketing success is anecdotal. "Oh, that was a great campaign. Oh, we got
Oh
lots of
yeah.
interest in that." How many leads did you generate? How many opportunities did you generate? What was the value of the one business? And so a CRM system allows you to connect all of those things together and then to run the reports. And actually, with this particular conversation, we ascertained that the trade show that they thought was really good actually wasn't very good at all. They'd had lots of conversations, but they hadn't gone anywhere.
When
So
I
they
did
said,
marketing consultancy, I saw exactly the same thing. Went into this big business and they've been running the same marketing campaign for 8 years. And they're like, it's brilliant. And the reason why they felt it was brilliant is because they felt busy. They were busy packing envelopes and putting things in. But actually, when we dug down into the data, put a proper CRM in place, put the sort of right sort of finances in place against it, we realized that it was losing them money year on year, and yet they'd run it for 8 years consistently.
yeah,
And I think people, their perception of what they feel they are doing, it's a bit like social media marketing to a degree, because you're busy typing away, having conversations, but are they actually turning back into cold hard cash in your pocket?
yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
the thing, isn't it? Is that
It
you
is.
often don't see that unless you have a proper system in place. We say it's every touch point, but every touch point is part of your sales funnel. And actually, if you're not monitoring that sales funnel, how do you know what's working, what's not working, which bit to change? It becomes consistent guesswork.
Yeah,
And without that CRM system, you're simply not getting that information back, which
yeah.
kind of leads me on as to why is it beneficial, really? And so I'm going to let you sort of take over on some of the other points on that.
Yeah. Well, I think just to start with the story, actually, I think why it's beneficial is because it's informing you about things that are going on in your business. So I had a conversation with somebody a couple of months ago, and they ran a campaign and they decided that they were going to try to generate interest by giving a discount. So they decided that for this particular campaign, for a duration of time, they were going to offer 30% off. And it was agreed, within the sales and marketing people, that's what they're going to do. But when they started to analyze it, and they did have a CRM system, which is interesting how they came to, to do this, is that when they analyzed all the numbers, they had an upturn in business, great. They had got some new customers, which was great. But then they analyzed their profitability and found out that on every sale that they'd made a loss. And that's because they hadn't used the data in the system to say, okay, if we price it at this, we take a 30% off, are we going to make any money? Now, they wanted to make some money out of it, but the result of that campaign was they didn't, but they did gain some new customers. So it's really about using it to, I guess, to manage your data. But some other things maybe just to throw out there. I mean, we would say it's the right thing to do. If you're going to go on a journey, you set the sat nav, you know where you're going to go, and the sat nav then guides you there. CRM can do the same kind of thing. You're not going to just set off. Well, you might in the old days you'd set off with a map and hope for the best, but
And drive around till you found it without asking anywhere to go, if you're my
yeah,
father.
exactly. And if you're a man, of course, you're not going to ask anybody where how
Exactly,
to go.
yeah.
But it's some of the key things, and I can focus on some of the more detailed things, but just thinking strategically for a moment. it helps you support growth, because again, you're making decisions about, data that's in your business. If you measure something, if you track it and measure it, then you're informed about what's going on, and you can make decisions and changes. It allows you to be consistent, so everybody does things the same way. You have those standard processes in place. It gives you the KPIs, reporting and analytics that we spoke about earlier. It can also give you quality, because of the consistency and people following the same path. You can have something that's repeatable rather than different people doing things in a different way. It may give you efficiencies, it may help you improve service levels. In businesses, like finance, for example, and law, it helps provide governance and know your customer. And for those people that have their own business, it allows you to run the business without you, which improves the value of the business. It allows you to work on the business, not in the business. So there are lots of, I think, things as to why you should have a CRM. But some of the other things that taking it down a level would be having better customer relationships, increasing your customer value. We spend a lot of time going out getting new customers, but we have existing customers that may spend more, and actually they're likely to spend more with us because they've already spent money with us. Things like sales efficiency, streamlining the sales processes or any processes, getting better. We spoke about collaboration earlier, getting better communication, because you're putting everything into a central system. Increasing your marketing ROI, just using that example there of that company that made a loss with their marketing campaign and selling their products. CRM can help you not make those choices. And I think one of the other things, it can save time. People are talking about AI at the moment, but just the basic CRM can help you save time. You've got everything in one place, everybody's collaborating off that one
And AI isn't going to save our businesses if our information that we're getting back and we're not acting on that information, that is, if we're doing something wrong, all it's going to do is amplify the wrongness. It's not actually going to help us get those messages right. And for us, using your CRM system to apply fields when people interact with your website allows us to really understand our audience a lot better, so that we can deliver back the right stuff, not the wrong stuff, to those people at the right time. And I know that AI is the buzzword, but for me, if you haven't got the basics right in the first place, and having a CRM is basic, I think sometimes people get put off by the cost of it, but actually the value that it gives back in return is 10 times the actual initial cost of any money that you would put into it. Because it's, we call them persuasion funnels, but there's so many leads being lost through websites on a daily basis. What if you do, what if you don't? And most sites are not even set up for the what if you do, what if you don't. Have you got a small download? We want to know where people are on the decision making process. So really our site should be set up like that. But then we should be applying fields, and we can then nurture that journey through a persuasion funnel to say, this is where you are in the buying journey process. And that can happen without you. And if you then see big drop offs through that, then essentially you go, that email's wrong that's going out, or they're not resonating with that bit of information, but that feeds back in a feedback loop to sales, to other people, maybe the things that sales are saying to each other. If you've got a centralized system, we can actually see that, physically see it, rather than just see it, and it becomes not opinion, it's just a fact that you're getting that good information back from you, so you're making very clear decisions. And for us, that's 100% why we need it when we're doing part of our marketing consultancy. It's like, do you have one? If they don't, we're like, well, I've just made you thousands then, because you haven't got one. Because it's straight away you're going to see stuff immediately within their business the minute one's been set up.
And I think you make a really good point there about the focus for a CRM, particularly for marketing, because actually, say 10, 15 years ago, a sales process was probably 20% marketing, 80% sales. That's flipped now to 80% marketing, 20% sales. And so you need a CRM system for your marketing, which starts with your website. It starts with all of your marketing campaigns, because you're nurturing people through a journey and sending them content based on decisions and actions that they might take in interacting with the content or the messages that they receive. And that builds up really valuable information about how people are trying to engage with you. And so But then you can tweak those journeys. You can go and say, oh yeah, you said that email that needs changing. I just need to change this journey a little bit. Actually, there's another path that I haven't thought of. I'm going to do that. And that takes that funnel and narrows it down so that when you get people into the narrower part of the funnel, then you're much more likely to be able to close a sale because you know much more about them. And you can't do that without a system.
You can't do that on any other way. So I always say that email marketing and having a CRM through your website is the only way that we really find out what our clients want without sitting them down in a room and actually talking to them.
Yeah.
And that's it. And ultimately, if you are seeing these interactions and people are liking, not liking stuff, that feeds back into your social media marketing. I think CRMs are not a very sexy subject to talk about, but ultimately they're the one thing that will deliver back tenfold, because all of the information you get back gets fed out through marketing, through your social media channels. Well, most people start with the social media, like I must be on social media, and they start going, and not that it isn't a really important part, but actually we need to be feeding that traffic back to our website, seeing what they're interacting with, so we go, oh, they're loving this topic, I'm going to deliver more of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
because that's attracting people, or they're asking me questions about this, let's put it through our sales funnel at this point in time. So it's that consistency in information and really understanding it. A CRM is the only place that we can actually really do that in.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think, part of the challenge you touched on cost and value and investment. And I think that's a big thing around a CRM system. I think that there's a lot of people that feel that a CRM is just like putting an app on your phone, and it isn't. A CRM is like putting an engine into a car. It's the engine of your business. Everything really should relate to that in some form or another. And that does require investment. It doesn't have to be a massive investment. We built a system recently for a company. They help students from South America to go over to universities in the US, Canada, and the UK. Now, they're not going to go out and get an industry-specific CRM because it doesn't exist for what they do. What they do is very niche. And we put a system in place for them. It took about 10, 12 days of work, plus the ongoing license cost. And the cost was very, very much less than you might imagine for getting a system like that put in place. Now, we didn't build it from scratch. We used basically some digital Lego blocks that we put together for the ones that supported what they needed to do. We built a couple that did things that an off-the-shelf CRM system wouldn't do, that are specific to their business, and then we put it all together. And now they say, God, I wish I'd done this sooner. I mean, I thought it was going to cost me a ton more money than it did. But I think you have to put it in perspective in terms of the staff costs as well. And I had a conversation with a financial advisors about 18 months ago, actually, and they got me in because they were at their wits' end. They weren't really efficient in their processes. They couldn't connect their CRM to their accounting system. Commissions was a challenge. Their analytics was a challenge. And the CEO said to me, we really need to try and unify all of this. Can you do it? And I said, I'm certain we can do that. What's the cost going to be? And they had quite an extensive set of business processes, and the system was going to take a significant investment. I think we're talking probably £30,000, £40,000, and she really balked at that cost and said, "Oh my goodness me, that's really expensive." Now, they were turning over millions. They had a very significant number of staff, but she took the decision not to make that investment in setting up and configuring the system, but instead she hired 4 staff members to plug the gaps in the efficiencies and the things that she couldn't do. Those 4 staff members cost her £200,000. So where we have to think about where the value is. Now, a £50,000 system, including the licenses and everything else, was going to give her business the scalability that it needed, and she wouldn't have to invest that £200,000 because that's not a year one investment, that's an ongoing investment in the business. So you have to look at costs.
We've seen that where we've put in CRM systems and we've moved staff around doing different roles. They were originally in there doing marketing role, but actually it became more of an admin role, and we've managed to move them back out into a proper marketing role rather than an actual just dealing with the general admin day to day. And unfortunately, probably for some who are looking for jobs, there was no role suddenly because actually the system did a lot of the heavy lifting. So you are reducing staff costs by having them there and making better business decisions as a result.
You can, but also you can add value, honey, here, because you can get people doing the things that actually require that thought and require a person to
Mm,
focus on improving quality and improving those relationships, making sure your system's really aligning to what your business needs. And I mean, I ran a seminar recently, and I used that as one of the examples, and everybody said, "Oh, yeah, I would have invested that amount of money in a system because that's going to then last me." But the CEO took a decision to invest that money in people because actually people to her was something that she knew how to manage, and she felt was actually less risk. And I've seen many, many examples of that. But
indeed.
that's an important,
Yeah.
I think, stumbling block for many people is that they think it's costing too much. But if it's costing less than one person will cost you, that's probably a good investment. And I think in general, people, and I'm not just saying this, underinvest in the systems that run their business. When you buy into a franchise, people are quite happy to pay, tens of thousands of pounds for the franchise. What you're investing into the systems and the processes that are going to enable you to run the business. You don't have to
Mm.
do that. And so it gives you all of that off the shelf. But if you're not a franchise, you've got to put that in place yourself.
Yeah. So if you're starting out and I totally agree with what you've said in that respect, but I also think I'm always amazed by how many, it doesn't matter what size of business, when we're doing our consultancy side, we go into all range of businesses from big to small, and you go CRM and they look blank, and you're like, really? You haven't got one. This is a huge business. And how are you doing it? Is I find amazing. So we always go because there's so many different CRMs out there now. It is a bit of a minefield. Um, so how do they get started? How do they decide which system they want to use? Obviously, I know you're a Salesforce agency, which does like 90% of what most CRMs would need to do. But how would they go about understanding what they needed, where to start? How does that journey look?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a couple of aspects to that. I think the important thing is to try and start early to build this concept of having systems, whether it's a website, whether it's a social media, a set of tools or a CRM into your vision, values, and your culture and the operations of the business, and create a culture of continuous improvement so that you're seen to be investing in people, processes, and technology, and try and do things incrementally. Don't do things in a big bang approach. And so really it's the hardest thing is actually sometimes to get started. But if you can research about what a good CRM system can do for your business, that's a starting point. Then you need to really align it to your strategy, your objectives, and your goals. And that's might be a starting point is if you can't easily define your goals and your strategy and objectives, is what are your operational challenges at the moment? Where are failures occurring? What can't you do that you'd really like to do? What kind of things are customers asking for? And then work with an expert. You wouldn't go and fix your own teeth or go and amputate your arm. We go to experts to help us. We use we leverage their expertise. So work with an expert, discover what you need, document what you need, review it and analyze it, and then design a system based around what those needs are, and then get someone to build it or configure it based on what you've discovered, documented, and designed. Deploy it, and then go back. It's a bit like it's probably a myth about repainting the Forth Bridge, but go back and start again. Because CRM is really like a garden. Systems like a garden. If you want your garden looking nice, you've got to cut the lawn, you've got to do the weeding, you're going to add some new shrubs, you're going to put a new bench seat here, do things to keep it, aligned to your business. Because if you don't, that's when misalignment starts to happen. People disengage with it, they stop using it, it doesn't help them do their jobs. And so that initial investment starts to almost erode. And so people think, spreadsheets are so much easier, I'll go back and use a spreadsheet. You've lost the battle at that point. So you have to stay continually invested, like you would in a marriage or any other kind of relationship. You're in it, you're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
And
We generally say when people start, because they're almost more basic than that, we're like, what systems are you currently running? What needs to integrate with it? Then actually just to get a notebook and write down the things that you're doing daily so that you understand what you're doing, how much work is actually going in, and then say, right, what could be automated here?
yeah,
Or what jobs is so and so doing that interacts with someone else? And even just get stick-it notes where you
yeah,
just write down your jobs and chuck them up on a wall,
yeah,
and then go and speak to an expert and say, these are all the things that we're doing on a daily basis. How can we systemize this?
yeah,
But having that list and a wish list of what you want. And I think the great idea doing the initial research first to understand what CRMs could do for them, because it opens your mind as to what the possibilities actually are. I think, things like we use trackers on emails to see if they've been opened or not, if we're sending out sales emails, because I want to know how many times that my quota's been opened, or if they're opening it, or if I've sent out a cold email, if they've opened it twice, they're immediately a warm lead for us because they're reading the same email twice.
yeah,
I want to know that so then I can jump on a phone call with someone. It's the little 1%, as people say, that they don't realize that they could be missing out on
yeah,
by using these type of systems. And so we always like, so what are you doing? What are sales doing? How are they making their sales? And just getting them to write down on a notepad and then bring that to the table and let someone unpick what's possible for them.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. You have to understand your needs first, and then select a product that aligns to those needs. Don't choose it necessarily on price. I know price is always an issue for everybody, or because you've got a mate that's got a similar business that's using something that's working well for them. If you get the right alignment, you're much more likely to see the benefits. You'll get users engaged. You'll get the growth and meet your objectives, and you'll get ROI. These systems do pay for themselves. Salesforce in particular, reports some amazing statistics from some of the surveys that they do with their customers, of increases of, up to 30% in sales. If you only get 5% increase, my goodness me, wouldn't we buy our hands off to get a 5% increase, let alone a 30% increase?
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think that it's right getting the right system rather than the wrong system, because once you start sort of going down that road, you suddenly start to realize the value of it. Now, if you've picked something that is cheaper, you have to reset that all up again. It becomes a complete nightmare to start again sometimes, because you've got to
Mhm.
take all the data, rebuild it. That's time wasted. And we always say, one of the things that helps you get in front of your competitors is being quick and agile. And as the bigger the industry, the less agile they become. So the great thing about being a smaller business is that you can be quicker off the mark. But if you're suddenly growing to a certain point and realize that the system that you've invested into is not fit for purpose, doesn't do all the things that you'd wanted, is not on your 5-year list of goals, you're going to be rebuilding it. And that time, it makes you unagile, not wasted. You have to get someone to transfer all that information. It actually becomes a bigger job
Yeah,
for someone like you at the end of it. To build that becomes more expensive.
yeah,
So actually really researching at the beginning and really understanding what it can do for you, and then coming to someone like yourself to go, right, this is what I've got, this is what I want it to do. Rome doesn't have to be built in a day. You can
yeah,
build parts onto it as you go, can't you? And like a website, we always go, Rome doesn't have to be built in a day. Let's do your quick wins first. How do we get these quick wins? We're definitely putting in a CRM system, whether they like it or not, because I need that information back,
yeah,
which is why I'm having this conversation with you today, because we felt that it was one of the most important talks that we're going to run actually is actually about having a CRM system as
yeah.
a whole.
Yeah, it is. And I know when I started Coacto, the first thing I did, and well, probably is obvious, is I got some CRM licenses and started, within CRM right from day one, because that was the starting point for me. The company was just me when I started. It isn't now, but everything then became in that single system. So when you start to hire staff, you've already got a process in place. You've got a system in place. Where's that?
Yeah.
It's in Salesforce. How do I see where this opportunity is? At? Go and look at the opportunity in Salesforce. But I think also that getting success with CRM, which is another question we get asked about quite a lot, is really about making sure that everybody's vested in it. We built a system for a biotech company, and after a couple of months, I got a call from the MD, and he said, "Paul, nobody's using your system." So it was clearly my fault. And I said to him, "Are you using it?" "No." "Well, why would I need to use it?" I said, "Okay. What about the sales director? Is he using it? Is he running his sales meetings with it?" And it turned out the sales director wasn't using it. And there was the reason why the system wasn't being used, because the people that had the vested interest in managing and running the business weren't using the system. What they were saying to the staff is, "I don't believe in this system. I don't need to use this system, but you need to use it." And so I said to them, I had a frank conversation with them, if you want engagement from your team, use the system yourself. Run your business from the CRM system. Run your sales meetings from the CRM system. Do the pipeline analysis from there. And then they managed to turn it around. But it's also about thinking. I bet if we were to do a poll of the people on this call today, what system do you open first when you get into the office in the morning? I bet you 99% of people say, "Oh, I open my email first." Is that really the right system to be opening? You should probably be opening your CRM system first, because you've probably set some tasks that have to be done that day. Do those emails really need to be responded to, first thing in the morning?
You're absolutely right. It's the first
Maybe
thing I
not.
did.
Yeah.
And I've got a CRM system, so that says it all, doesn't it?
Indeed. But it's about trying to engage with this, with this technology, because it exists, because it can add tremendous value to your business.
And not wasting time, which is another one, which is
Well,
brilliant.
we're all time poor these days, aren't we?
Yeah.
The technology was supposed to give us lots of time back. What it actually has turned us into is doing more.
I know. What is wrong with us all? But anyway, there we go. Well, listen, Paul, thank you so much for jumping on and covering the basics. I know we're going to do some other talks later on, going in a bit more detail about each of these, but it's been absolutely brilliant just to give an overview to people who have never heard of CRMs, don't know what they are. It's been brilliant. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks very much for the opportunity, Henny.
No worries. And if someone wants to talk to you about CRM systems, how might they do that? I'm going to put your QR code up here now, just so if anyone wants to scan it, but I'll leave it to you to say.
Okay, yes. So you can go to our website, which is coacto.co.uk. That's coacto.co.uk. And then for anybody's interested, that's a Latin phrase that means to compel or make things happen. And we like the coacto. We work together with the people in our business. Or just email us at hello@coacto.co.uk.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Paul.
Okay, thanks, Annie.
No
Bye-bye,
worries.
everybody.